Sarah, you want to review $1,000 worth of bourbon?
I can't believe you even have to ask me that question.
We were lucky enough to be invited to the release of the Bardstown Collection. This is the first year that they've done this. And this isn't really like a review, hey, should you go rush out and get it, because they're already sold.
Right, let's be honest, like, they were gone the day that they came out, so it's not something that you can go out and get, but they have said that they want this to be an annual release with more distilleries joining in the future. So consider this more of a, here are our thoughts on it, so that when you see these come out next year, you kind of know what's up.
Will it be worth it?
Right.
Yeah.
Or which one you should go get if you can't get them all.
Because they get released at the 5 different distilleries, I think the same morning.
Yeah, so can you time travel?
It's very hard to Pokemon collect them all.
Yeah.
But let's start off with the lowest proof, which happens to be 109 proof.
I wouldn't call that low proof.
From Jim Beam. So, you know it's limited because it comes in a box.
That's what Chad always says. I do think this is cool, though, because they did have some, like, artists do a topography map of, I think that's what you call it. I'm not a geography person. But of Bardstown, the bourbon capital of the world, so it's known.
Basically, they all come in this box. This is the only one that we're going to bring the box out for. But
it's a lot.
They only differ by saying their name down here. But they each come with this little book that's all about the bourbon capital of the world, which is Bardstown. And it all kind of features things about the master distillers who were involved and the 5 different distilleries that were involved. And pause for cork pop.
Oh, that one fought back.
I don't think I've gotten through all the plastic
You did not. A couple of the things that I like about this collection, because I feel like a lot of people in the comments are going to be like, oh great, another limited edition release that I'll never be able to get my hands on that's expensive. And like, I hear you and I get that. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is if you feel like spending the money and you want these things, which one should you get and are they worth it?
It's also cool to see what distilleries, when they're called for something like this, to see like what they offer up as something really special, or $200 worth, because that's another thing. Each of these bottles sold retail for $200 each.
Right.
So
I think it is really cool though to see what you would normally on a day-to-day basis consider competitors come together to support Bardstown, and it was the proceeds went to charity.
So you want to make sure you stick around to the end of this episode, because we are going to rank them in our favorite to our last favorite, and then we also have interviews from everyone from the distillery involved that kind of gives you a breakdown on this. So let's go ahead and start with our first one from Freddie No of Jim Beam.
So for our release at the James B. Beam Distilling Company, I pulled together a couple of barrels from another project I was working on for Little Book. I taste a lot of whiskey in preparation for creating the next batch. I earmarked these barrels for something I might use. When the opportunity came up to work on this Bardstown collection, it was a no-brainer to kind of set these barrels aside. I thought they would work very well together. Both of them being 15 years old. One from the old Granddad mash bill and one from our family recipe of the Jim Beam mash bill. Obviously 2 barrels pulled together right at 50%. And I think you get a very nice blend of some nice fruity notes, followed up with a lot of notes from that 15 year coming in and out of that wood. So very oaky, very complex bourbon, and very fitting for honoring the city and town that I grew up in.
So that's pretty cool. So it's old,
so it's almost
old enough.
kind of like what he does with Little Book, which is finding, what's in their stores and creating something special out of what's there.
Yeah.
Well, and I think sometimes when you get those older barrels that have more to say, it sometimes, and like with the mingling, I feel like maybe you need a little water sometimes, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I definitely get the age, some leather.
Yeah.
On the nose.
Classic nuttiness, the Beam nuttiness there. And it's cool because I don't know if I've had anything that's had the old Granddad and the Beam mash bill.
I don't think I ever have,
mingled together. Yeah, leather, oak.
Leather, oak, that
peanut
nuttiness.
Butter.
Some sweetness under there, but it's a lot of bold, rich, mature flavors.
Smells great.
All right.
To your health. Oh, yeah.
I'm getting not so much of the classic Beam. Like when we get into a Knob Creek pick, usually the first things we say are peanut butter, chocolate, nut, like those nutty, oaky. And that's there, but I think the nutty is turned way down. It's there, but it's not peanut butter. It's not overwhelmingly. It's very oak and tobacco and leather. Like you're getting that age.
If I remember right, when we've talked about like the Knob Creek anniversary bottles that were cast strength and were picked especially for that, they also sort of deviated from the typical Jim Beam flavor, and I think we kind of pinned it down to we're so used to trying Beam from 6 to 9 years. You know, Booker's being usually around 6, Knob Creek being 9-year. I also have some 12-year Knob Creek. But like when we even tried the 15-year-old Knob Creek, we're like, it's good, but the Jim Beaminess of it that we're so used to in younger to 9-year stuff kind of goes away. And I think that's just because of the age here.
I completely agree with you. I like a substantial amount of oak in those like more mature, leathery, tobacco-y flavors are coming through for me that I'm used to. Then that signature Jim Beam taste.
Yes.
But I like that.
Spicy.
And it's getting close to, I guess, I need to coin this term of like the threshold of oak, of diminishing returns.
Right.
But it's usually around 15 years for me, and it's on the good side of that, in my opinion.
I agree. Ooh, second sip, it's chewy. It is a chewy one.
I think it gives you a nice little hug too.
Very nice.
I'm not sure how this would taste at 120 or 125.
Right, it might have been a little too
heavy.
I mean, I'm sure they did try it at cast strength, and they might have been like, let's back this down. Strong
contender.
Strong contender.
What a way to start out.
Right,
this is the lowest proof?
Yeah, right from the rip.
So we're gonna go in order of proof. So next we have Heaven Hill. This is 120 proof.
Let's hear from the man himself, Master Distiller, Connor O'Driscoll.
Our contribution to this is two barrels of 9-year-old Heaven Hill. Came off the 6th floor of Warehouse M in Bardstown. On the bourbon flavor profile, one barrel was at one end, the other was at the other. Mingle them together, and you've got this delicious, just full-bodied, rich, smooth whiskey presented at 120 proof. It doesn't drink at 120 proof, and of course, the proceeds from the sale of these bottles is going to support charities here in Bardstown. Restaurants and bars impacted by COVID is one of the big recipients of it, and there's other groups as well, and we're hoping it'll be an annual event, and we're pretty pleased with the whiskey.
So it's cool that they took different ends of the spectrum flavor-wise and combined them. I think that does help what I would call a little underwhelming just from looking at the specs.
Right, but I'm looking at the specs and I'm like, $200 is a lot for a 9-year-old product, but you know, we also have to consider that this was a collaboration, it's a community effort, and was in support of a charity. So you gotta give them that.
Pause for cork pop.
Maybe it's because this is a freshly cracked bottle.
Yeah.
I wish we had like a fresh crack alert or something like.
Fresh crack.
Oh, no. No, don't do it.
Chandler popping up.
He's gonna add.
Fresh crack. Perfumey.
It does have like a little bit of a florally perfume note. I mean, the more it comes in contact with the air, the more I am getting.
Yeah.
That Heaven Hill maltiness coming through.
Well, it's always easier to smell once you get a little on your palate.
That's
so let's
true.
go ahead and do that. Oh, much better than what the nose was giving off. Wow.
Yes. Oh, that's got some body. Am I gonna be second sip Sarah already? I am.
Well, I'm gonna be second sip Chad because it's not particularly a really long finish.
Man, does it have body up front? Woo! You get every bit of that 120 proof.
Yeah.
And honestly,
it's all palate. It's all palate.
It is
though.
really all palate though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very bold and rich, and it has a good mouthfeel. Finish-wise, I mean, it hangs out. It's not as long of a finish as I guess I would expect, but it is making my mouth water at those flavors that are just, they come in swinging.
The finish is really sticking on the tongue and less going into, down the throat and into the chest. I feel like the Beam was even more in the chest.
I don't know if this may be the wrong thing to say. I feel like Heaven Hill has backed themselves into a corner in a way, because they put out such great products. Like they put out the Parkers, they put out 3 times a year the Elijah Craig barrel proof releases that everybody loves,
and those are 12 years,
right? And then we've got we've also got William Heaven Hill when you get the cast strength releases of those. Again, most of the things that I just said are hard to find, but so is this,
right?
So I mean, again, we got to consider the charity community aspect of it. But for me, it makes it really hard to be like, I would rather have this than one of those, because they do such a good job.
Yeah.
They've made the argument hard for themselves, and I don't say that to be like, stop making those other things. I keep making those other things, please.
I'm starting to get a little bit of the classic Elijah Craig, like a lower proof Elijah Craig barrel proof offering, like Like there was one recently that was like 118.
118. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's got that honey and tea sort of vibe. There's a citrus pop of some lemon in there, and I wish it brought along. I'm wanting that Kentucky hug. It's cold out right now. I want that hug.
But it is good. It's good stuff.
It is good. Up next from Log Still is a 121.3 proof, and here to talk about it is Lynn Dant.
So Log Still Distillery is proud to offer a 7-year-old cask strength high rye that's very consistent with what the Dant family has always offered to the industry. This one has some really nice aromas of toasted coconut, some good spices on the flavors. Has a really nice smooth finish that's like warm spice apple. It's a great drink for this type of year, all year round of course, but especially good winter release. And we're most pleased that the proceeds are going to benefit people in the community that really need the support of our industry, and we just feel blessed to be able to contribute to this effort.
We're doing math though, and they haven't been around for 7 years, so we know that it's not.
Yeah, it's not
their distillate.
It's not their distillate.
Couldn't
so talk about raising the difficulty. You try to source something really, really special. So, 7-year, high rye, but barrel proof.
Sure. From their perspective, I do understand that. You don't see a lot of source stuff. I mean, I feel like you do, I guess. If you see anything that's over 5 years, it's going to be up in this price range anymore because it's so expensive to source stuff. So from the distillery perspective, I get it. But from the consumer perspective, with so many options, more options than ever.
But we always say, never judge a bottle by its
stats covered.
It's bona fides.
Do you say that?
I say it all the time.
Sure.
The real proof is in the glass.
I get apples.
Yes. An apple peel.
Yeah, I'm peeling apples.
Green apple.
Green apple for sure.
And
I mean, it kind of smells like an apple pie before it goes into the oven. So you've got like the dough and the freshly peeled apples.
I get
like
that.
Some cinnamon.
Yep.
It's fresh. It's crisp.
Smells great. Okay. Oh wow! It's popping in a fresh little number there.
It is. But I also like
pretty crisp.
The balance that it keeps with the oak, with that crispness, that fruity kind of sweet. I don't know if I'm surprised. I don't know what I expected.
Right. Again, which just goes back to don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, and we tasted these briefly at the launch party, but different environment, multiple tastings, food, people, it changes things.
Yeah.
There is something about this. It's got like that savory sweet combo.
Yeah, I can definitely get that it's a high rye.
Yeah, and I like that rye spice that hangs around at the end, that pepper and clove.
It does stick around. Beginning of the palate, it's a tad dry, not a killer, but
the finish I think goes a little dry with those spice notes that I just said, and then maybe some dried fruit. I guess I was expecting more of a stark difference based on the stats from the two that we've had before. And I get it in some ways, but honestly, I think it's doing a good job of holding itself up.
It is almost like a barely legal rye, like a 51% rye. It's almost a little winter mint, effervescent.
I just had that effervescence.
Eucalyptus, type of...
Makes me feel like I can take a good deep breath.
Yeah.
So I think, for this one, it's going to come down to like, do I enjoy what's inside this bottle? Yeah, I think it's tasty. Do I think it should be priced at $200?
Right.
This is the tough part, and this is what everyone, I hate to see anything be $200. Do I want anything to be $200? No.
Okay, before we hit our last two, we want to take a quick pause and tell you about our home on the internet. You know it, it's whiskeyambitions.com. It's where you can get this hoodie, this long sleeve, caps, our Glencairns, Copitas, rocks, glasses, challenge coins, candles, pins, and more, always coming soon at whiskeyambitions.com.
You can become a patron at patreon.com/itsbourbonite and join our community for as little as $1 a month. That's where we release our barrel picks exclusively. We'll be doing at least 12 as of right now this year, probably more. And another round with Chad and Sarah. We'll also do that after this episode and lots of other fun stuff.
There you go. All right, now we move on to Bardstown Bourbon Company.
This one is Discovery #1, their very first release of Discovery.
Well, yeah, I think we just have Danny Bardstown himself, Dan Calloway.
He'll tell us about it.
Talk about it. Take it, Dan.
So our submission to Bardstown Collection, we wanted it to be our most premium release exclusive thing we've done. We chose our Discovery Series #1 re-barreled. So our Discovery Series celebrates the art of blending, beverage, culinary, and distilling coming together. The Discovery Series number 1, which is one of my favorites, comes in cask strength 121 proof. It's a blend of bourbons aged 5 to 12 years. It has been in New American Oak for 2 years. The majority hovers at that, about 80% of it hovers around 14 years old now. So an incredible blend. The youthful part I compare to lemon on a steak. It's just 10% now 7 year, and just gives it a brightness, balanced by that viscosity and oak of rich aged bourbon. One of the most exclusive, my favorite things we've ever done, and the perfect way to celebrate Bardstown.
Discovery number 1. They're on like 7 now, so this was their first Discovery series.
The way back.
The way back.
It is the only double-barreled one.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, an extra 2 years in the oak. I mean,
122.7 proof, right where I like them.
They really put in the time on this one.
You gotta think this project was probably kind of an easy one for them. I mean, I don't like to assume anything's easy, but they do so much experimental stuff that they probably just had this discovery sitting around, doing double oak things anyways. And so when this opportunity came up, they were like, oh, we have the perfect thing.
Yeah, probably. Whoa!
I mean, this is some dark stuff.
Yeah, this is the dark side of whiskey. That is some ripe raisin or plum, very like molassesy.
Who wants to tell them that raisins aren't ripe?
Well, you know what I mean. I get some raisin, I also get some ripe plum.
I gotta give
it.
Yeah, I do. I just gotta give it to you whenever I can. Yeah, I get like a cinnamon raisin.
Rich, deep,
It smells
dark.
like cinnamon raisin swirl bread.
Yeah, it does. Oh man.
With butter. Specifically from Waffle House at 2 a.m. when you want it the most.
Sure.
That feeling is that comfort food feeling is what I'm getting.
Very dark, yes. Okay.
Holy mouthfeel.
Holy mouthfeel, Batman. Exceptional mouthfeel also.
That just makes me smile.
Wow.
This is very much in line with their normal price range. Like the Discovery releases, their finished
130.
releases are generally 130 up to 200.
Up to 200, yeah.
The Mistel finish that we got was 299, I think. Just because of the rarity, I think, and the time that it spent in that barrel. But that's very normal for them. It's desserty, and yet there is so much of that oaky presence from the double oak that they did. I'm actually glad that this came out in, well, I probably shouldn't say that yet at this point in the episode. Should I give them an inkling? Can I do it?
They know.
They know by our reactions, I think.
By our reactions, yes.
I'm glad that this came out in January of 2022 because I think this is probably the first thing that I put on the list of for the best of
contention
for the end of this year. Because it came out in January, it's fair game. So I think this one's kind of a no-brainer.
If you can only choose one.
If you can only choose one. Are we giving away the end of the episode? They're probably going to want to see how the other ones are ranked.
Right. Please still stick around.
And we haven't gotten to the preservation yet.
Yeah.
Woo!
Highest proof yet, 122.8 proof from Preservation Distillery.
Only the highest proof by 0.1.
By 0.1, but they got it. They got that medal. Let's go ahead and toss it over to Matthew Jackson, the head distiller.
So with ours, we did a blend of 3 different Kentucky bourbons. We did a 16, a 14, and a 6. So we wanted that kind of just a new flavor right on the tip of it that mellows out and mingles really good with a nice aged bourbon. So we nailed it. Came together really good. At a 122.8, it does really well.
So far, it has the oldest stuff in it. 16, because we had 15 year from Beam and 14 year from Bardstown Bourbon Company, if you count the time it spent in the double oak process.
Which why wouldn't you?
Right?
Yeah.
It's still...
Yeah. So this does have the oldest in it.
Now, it's probably a very small percentage of the 16, or I don't know how small, but it's probably not the lion's share of this bottle. It's not 16-year-old.
Right. Preservation is distilling their own things, but I don't think they've been doing it
for 16 years.
For 6 years even. So, but sourcing is sort of their deal.
That's their deal.
That's right now. So makes sense. Okay.
That is
bright like the last one.
It is very bright.
Yeah.
I'm trying to place. It's such an interesting nose.
Melon. It's very kind of
it's melon.
Island tropical.
Nail on the head. I couldn't have said it better. Yeah, like you're at the beach and you just got some sort of frozen drink and it's fruity and it's
a little daiquiri.
Tropically and it's got some tiki in it.
Yes, definitely some tiki.
Tiki spices. It's taking
some
me
malt.
there.
I'm getting some malt. You know?
Yeah.
Got that malt in there. Okay. Cheers to you.
Mouthfeel on point.
Okay. Yeah. Tough act to follow, following that Bardstown.
I gotta say though, I like that mouthfeel.
Yeah. It brings the heat though. It's got a lot of heat on it.
You think? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Maybe I'm a little desensitized at this
It might be
point.
adjusting from the Bardstown.
Yeah.
I should really not talk until the second sip.
It is
Okay. Not as much heat this time.
Sweet. I almost do get a little bit of a coconut.
Yeah, you know what it kind of reminds me of? Seagrass.
I was thinking the same thing.
Barrel seagrass.
Without the, you know,
I mean, that's a rye.
seagrass is clearly a finished product. This tastes like it could, it's not, but it's as close as you could get to one while still staying, you know, straight up bourbon. It's got some spice. It goes a little dry on the finish.
It does, and
that's when the spice really kicks in.
But what they've gone with here with the lighter things is really working out, I feel like.
It does work. On the finish, I'm getting more of those tropical notes hanging around. Like, what I'm left with is some spice, like in that hug, but also like peaches and bananas and
peaches and cream,
things like that. Kind of hanging out at the end and leaving that fruitiness, you know, hanging out in my mouth, which is fine. But I think me personally, I really like it when we close with oak.
Yeah.
I like oak as a closer.
A good oak closer.
Yeah, you know.
I'm liking the finish more. You just got to give it some time.
All right, Chad, it is time to rank them.
Let's rank them.
I don't think we need to spend much time on number one. I think we both know, based on our tasting,
it's the
our
Bardstown
reactions.
Bourbon Company.
Were you surprised?
There you go.
I
Okay.
wasn't.
All right. But the rest, 2 through 5, what do you all think? For us, we did agree on all these. It did change from our thoughts when we were at the event to when we tasted them now. There was one little switch.
A little switch.
Yep. In second place is the Beam. That 109, you know, the lowest proof, yes, but the 15-year, the mingling of the two 15 years.
And it's us.
And it's us, right. Just really brought it. So
maybe we're biased.
Number 2 spot for us is Beam.
That Beam.
Next up would be the Heaven Hill. 9 years old, 120 proof. You know, not the best Heaven Hill,
but like good. You know, you get a 9-year-old product that's 120 proof from Heaven Hill, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed by the taste of what's in the bottle. I think the argument here is when they have so much other great stuff in the LE category that's not quite this price. Meh, how do you deal with that?
Exactly.
But taste-wise, it came in third.
There we go. All right, here's the big question. Who came in fourth? Who came in fifth? Coming in the fourth place spot for us. This is where it changed from the tasting. Is actually the preservation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, when we were at the event, I don't think I really got to appreciate the mouthfeel. And I think that's coming from the older stuff that's blended in here. I did not perceive that when we were there, but when we opened it here, I was like, wait, I don't remember this. So,
yeah.
And then coming in fifth place is the Log Still. You know, I honestly think that is just a factor of it being a 7-year product against, you know, the rest of these are 9 years old and up. I think that's normal. I think that's just what's going to happen when you have something at 7. It just hasn't had the time to build the same body and complexity. But it was still, you know, it was still tasty stuff.
Yeah.
So
all really good. So kind of the conclusion of this is, if you have the chance to get these next year, should you go for it? We feel like yes. Some things here have been, we feel like, well worth the $200, and others are more, you know, a little bit more. Get into the questionable area, but you know our vote for if you can only go to one distillery. If it's based on the first year, now next year,
that's the thing.
It'll be a different offering, and there may be more distilleries. Yeah, so.
But it gives you kind of a lay of the land. You know, this episode was not intended, again, like we said at the beginning, for you to go out and rush out and try to find these or buy them on secondary. We don't want that. We just kind of want you guys to be familiar with what this lineup is, what to look for next year.
And that's where we will leave it. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to us already, you know we'd love to have you. And click right up here to do so. There's suggestions of other videos down here. Hope to see you over there in one of those. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay. Till next time, drink more bourbon.